conversation has taken a turn for the worse. The ogre makes some grunts in giant. Another two ogres step out from behind boulders. The large ogre in front of you raises his great club. Roll for initiative. Initiative? Oh, that means combat. How does that work? I wish I was more prepared. Well, brace yourselves, adventurers, because today on 5e Fundamentals we will cover basic combat in Dungeons & Dragons. I'm Russell Kirkby and this is 5e Fundamentals, a web series where we cover the most basic and essential rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Today we're going to cover initiative and your basic combat options, actions, movement, bonus actions. Then we're going to talk about reactions and some other special maneuvers at the end. As always, it's important to note that all the rules in D&D, in fact in any role-playing game, are based on a social contract and are almost always arbitrated by the game master. I personally am an advocate of using as few rules as possible until you need them. But until you know them all, just do your best and have fun. The rules are a tool, not a crutch. If you're the DM, adapt them as you see fit. I, for one, get the rules wrong all the time, and you should never feel bad about it. At the end of the day, it's about role-playing, having fun, and telling a great story. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the big red button and subscribe, because every time you don't subscribe to this channel, a cute, cuddly baby owlbear dies at the hands of an evil cultist. Alright? Alright, down to business. Now, before combat, the DM will generally call for an initiative roll. This roll determines who acts in what order during each round of combat. To work out your initiative, you just roll a d20 and add your dexterity modifier, which you'll find on your character sheet here. The DM is going to collect everyone's initiative rolls and sort them out into a sequence. Basically, this is how you will know whose turn it is. Right, now we're going to break combat into three main sections. Things that you can do on your turn, things that you can do on other creatures' turns, and extra maneuvers. Depending on the circumstances, they can be combined or used separately. Firstly, remember that everything that happens in combat in D&D 5e happens during a turn, and a turn is considered to be around 6 seconds of story time. So if you ever need to figure out what can happen during someone's turn, keep in mind it has to happen in less than 6 seconds. You can move, you can take an action, and maybe, depending on the circumstances, you might get to take a bonus action. Remember, standard actions include the attack action and casting most spells. These are the most common things that you're likely to do during your action. Note that you can also pick up, sheath, or draw a weapon as a free action at the start or end of your turn. It costs no actions or movement, but you can only take one of these free actions in a turn. What you can't do is replace movement for an action or an action for a bonus action. They're not interchangeable. Believe it or not, this covers you taking an action. Officially, however, this usually means the attack action, casting most spells, ones with a casting time of 1 action, pushing or grappling an opponent, attempting to hide, intimidating an enemy. You get the idea, right? Movement. Unless you're restrained for some reason, you can generally move up to your character's speed, which is a number expressed in feet per turn. For most creatures, this is about 30 feet or 6 squares. But depending on the DM, your movement might also include jumping a gap, running up a dragon spine, or rappelling down a castle wall, and might require some kind of ability check too, like athletics. Certain kinds of terrain can be considered difficult terrain, and that can, at the DM's discretion, halve your movement speed. Keep in mind that you can divide up your full amount of movement and use it in increments before and after your action and your bonus action. In this way, you might kill an enemy and then move to the door, for example, and then take the hide action. Or you might attack an enemy here and then move up to an ally to heal them. Just remember, when moving away from an enemy that is within 5 feet of you, try to take the disengage action, otherwise you will provoke an attack of opportunity, and those have been known to be fatal. Bonus actions. Bonus actions are a special action that can be specific to a class trait, racial feature, a feat or ability, or more commonly a spell. Now, unless specified by the rules or the DM, you can use bonus actions at any time during your turn. But even if you have more than one bonus action available because you're a super duper multi-classing rogue, cleric, barbarian, you can only take one bonus action per turn. So what this means is that you cannot rage, then cast Grasping Vine, and then try and hide in the shadows. No. You can, however, move in as many increments as you like, take a standard action, use one bonus action per turn. Remember, a turn is 6 seconds. So, for example, a rogue might run in, knock her bow, fire an arrow, and then try and hide behind the pillar. Take some time to familiarize yourself with all your spells and actions and bonus actions so that you feel comfortable knowing what your character is capable of doing during combat. I strongly suggest you try using online tools such as D&D Beyond, linked below, because they will automatically produce a list of actions and bonus actions that you can use on your combat turn, making your life a lot easier. If you don't have access to those tools, ask your DM to help you out with your character and making a list of actions for you. When it's the enemy's turn, or even your companion's turn, you may find that you have abilities or spells on your character sheet that have the keyword reaction in their description. This means that you can only utilize this ability when it is not your turn. The classic example of a reaction in 5e is when a creature within melee range, that is to say 5 feet of you, moves away. This provokes a reaction called an attack of opportunity, which is a special free attack with a melee weapon against that creature. You only get one reaction per full round of combat, but as soon as your turn has been had, the reaction ability refreshes and you can use another reaction for the next round, even if you have not taken your turn yet. This gives a little more interaction to the battle and makes it really worthwhile to stay tuned into the combat even if it's not your turn. Extra maneuvers. One of the most useful maneuvers you can perform on your turn is to ready or hold an action. This maneuver is directly connected to a reaction. This means that on your turn you can move into a position and then hold your action, waiting for a trigger which you can specify to the DM. As soon as the door opens, I fire. Another example of holding an action might be when you have only got a melee weapon and your enemy is out of range during your turn. Okay, so the harpy is 10 feet off the ground. I'm going to move up to my druid companion and hold my attack for when the harpy comes within melee range. In this case, the player is hoping that the harpy will attack them or their companion, or maybe the druid will cast Thorn Whip to drag the harpy into range. In any case, the plan is that when the trigger condition is met, the player will be able to expend their reaction at that moment and unleash their melee attack. Remember that when you hold an action, you can only hold it for one full combat round. When it comes back to your turn in the initiative order, you can choose another action or continue to hold the previous one. There are some abilities that don't have a specific descriptor or keyword on how to use or activate them. For example, Divine Smite is a Paladin class feature which has its own set of conditions, specifying that you must hit a creature with a melee weapon in order to activate the spell. Thus, according to the rules as written, a Paladin must wait to have a successful hit on an enemy target before declaring that they wish to discharge their Divine Smite, which would add damage to their standard weapon attack. So the main thing to remember if you are a new player, for initiative you roll a d20 plus your dex modifier, which is here. On your turn you have an action, X amount of movement, which can be split up into various increments, and a possibility of a bonus action. And when it's not your turn, if conditions are met, you might get an opportunity to use up to one reaction per full combat round. If you're ever unsure, talk with your DM and find out in advance what options are available to your character. Discuss when you can or cannot use a specific ability so that it's clear. Keep in mind the DM may want to change how specific rules or conventions work, either to suit their game style or their campaign setting. I played a game once where cantrips were always bonus actions. Remember, the rules are a guide. They're there to help you tell stories and have fun. Every DM has the absolute authority to run their game however they want. Ideally, I suggest that you should know the rules before you break them, but if you're still learning the rules, then just make sure that you and your fellow players are having fun. As always, if you like this content, hit the big red button and subscribe.